Good evening, Austin. That's right. Officers were monitoring a stretch of Route 16 between Charleston and Mattoon. And at the time we were on scene, authorities had numerous cars pulled over. They say they'll keep writing tickets until everyone gets the message. Officer Spindler says those who violate Scott's law receive a mandatory court appearance, and if convicted, it's a mandatory suspension of license. He says the first violation is a month suspension, and if you are speeding or cause damage, it can be up to a 2-year suspension. As for patrols on Route 16, police say they'll continue until all drivers are following the traffic laws. Austin, back to you. The construction here on Lincoln Avenue will begin in June of this summer and will conclude in the fall of 2020. In Charleston, I'm Bailey Taylor for WEIU News Watch. Over 400 EIU students volunteered today for Panther Service Day, and one of those 15 activities included First Fruits Homestead. Authorities say no one was in the building at the time of the fire and no injuries have been reported. In Arthur, I'm Bailey Taylor for WEIU News Watch.
The main concept of it is just to move over, slow down, and yield to the people on the side of the road, whether it's a broke down vehicle or a traffic stop or who knows what the case may be, just to give people that safety and that extra distance to avoid any kind of accident or emergency.
And police officers in Coles County are focusing on that safety of Scott's Law as they patrol Illinois Route 16 today. Charleston Deputy Chief of Police Heath Thornton says that it's important to know the law and obey it.
Well, Scott's Law, the importance of it is simply to protect the officers or any emergency vehicles that are out on the roadways.
Officers like Brandon Spindler have been out on Route 16 today, and he says that Scott's Law is very important for drivers to be aware and cautious of.
It's our life out there. If they're not paying attention, they could strike our vehicle, they could strike the vehicle that we're stopping, and obviously it's been on the news recently. Very serious injuries and death occur often when drivers don't pay attention.
Spindler says he's dealt with some violations with Scott's Law in the past, and the most recent was earlier today.
Just out there this morning, I had a vehicle that was, you can tell they weren't paying attention and they came up too fast and had to swerve over into the left lane at the last minute.
Officers like Spindler aren't the only drivers who think it's important to pay attention. Eastern Illinois University admissions counselor Sarah Calger commutes to work every day and says that drivers should always be aware.
It's very important that we think about the law enforcement and making sure that they're safe because, you know, they also have families that they go home to.
Not all drivers are as aware as Calger, and Spindler says it is hard as an officer when people don't slow down or move over.
It makes me angry because it's people putting their just not paying attention enough that puts us at risk.
Time a student first comes to the university, whether it's as an undergrad, a transfer, international, or as a graduate student, they will see that increase.
And Eastern Illinois University Vice President for Business Affairs Paul McCann says this roughly 2% tuition increase will affect new incoming students this fall. Senior Matt Evans says he will be attending graduate school at Eastern in a few months, but right now he's not worried about the increase.
I was given a graduate assistantship, which, again, in my case, that comes with a tuition waiver for 3 semesters. So it doesn't affect me directly. However, eventually it will when I have to take those 3 other semesters and have to pay for classes.
Which Evans says can add up to a hefty expense when you're a graduate student.
For graduate school students, tuition is already much higher than an undergrad. And for those who, like in my case, are in a major that requires a master's degree, that can make paying for school much more difficult, especially if they already having to pay out of pocket.
This isn't the first time Eastern has had to raise tuition. McCann says the last time tuition was increased was last year, and for the same reason, inflation.
The primary reason is costs keep going up, and so we looked at the rate of inflation, and it's about 2.5%, so we tried to keep it within that range.
I know Eastern is known for being one of the most prestigious programs in the Midwest. It's also one of the most affordable.
In Charleston, I'm Bailey Taylor for WEIU News Watch.
He's got a great family that loves him. He's got 2 little brothers that look after him. Like, he just needs to do for them, like be a better role model for them. Well, I didn't know what had happened until I got over here, but I was like in shock running. And then once I got over here, it kind of like took a little bit to kind of take it all in, what the officers were trying to tell me. It's scary. I mean, like, it happens. We hear about it happening all the time, but you don't really hear about it happening to people you actually know and so close to home and like almost family members. So it's kind of scary. Nothing is worth taking a life over, like drugs, money, like girls, anything like that. It's not worth fighting over.
And the library is just the heart of our community. People are coming in every day. Right now we have our tax program, we have the puzzle table, and people are just really using the new spaces.
Marshall begins a new chapter with the reopening ceremony of their public library that includes renovations, a Smithsonian exhibit, and room dedication. Library Director Allison Thompson says the exhibit is a great thing for the community.
Having a Smithsonian exhibit at Marshall, Illinois, with a population of around 4,000 people is a big deal. Not everyone is going to have the opportunity to go and visit a Smithsonian exhibit in Washington, D.C., so to have a Smithsonian exhibit with our grand reopening is a special day.
And this special day was also shared with community members who take pride in the exhibit being in Marshall. Head librarian Jamie Poorman says this display says a lot about the community.
The opportunity to host one of these exhibits is very competitive, and the fact that we were chosen. And I think the exhibit is just one that everybody can relate to.
Another event that drew some attention at today's library festivities included a room dedication to honor former Marshall native and Handy Rider colony member Sonny Daly. Daly donated $100,000 in 2017 to help with renovations that will make services for employees and the community a lot easier.
We renovated our main level, which included a new computer area, a vestibule, a new renovated teen area.
Poorman says that libraries are so important to a community, and having these opportunities in their library means a lot to her.
I love the library, and I feel like being in a small town, it's kind of a lifeline. You know, we get to see and do these things that we normally wouldn't do.
In Marshall, I'm Bailey Taylor for WEIU News Watch.
Just smoother, like I said, like if it's raining, sometimes I feel like I need to be in a different lane, and so it kind of changes where I'm driving or how I'm driving, but having nicer roads would eliminate the worry of exactly like where I am on the road, and I can just kind of drive at my own leisure.
And that smooth ride will come when construction begins to resurface Lincoln Avenue. This will help drivers like Sarah Bryden, an Eastern Illinois University student who uses Route 16 frequently commuting back and forth to campus. Ariel Hockman is another commuter who is anxious for construction to get started.
I'm actually really excited about it because I've been going to school here for 3 years, and there's a lot of like potholes and stuff, so I'm always worried that like my car is gonna break or something as I'm driving.
Another worry for drivers is the detour. Daly Robinson says she commutes to work in Charleston from Casey, and the construction could slow her down.
The other road that I could take is also going to be under construction for a while too, so it might make it harder to get here.
And it might be difficult for some businesses around town too.
I'm most worried about my customers being able to get in and out of here. It's already a little difficult when they come in here.
Honestly, everything in Charleston is kind of close, and there's always like a way around it, so hopefully it won't affect us that much.
The construction here on Lincoln Avenue will begin in June of this summer and will conclude in the fall of 2020. In Charleston, I'm Bailey Taylor for WEIU News Watch.
First phase is construction of a 9-classroom addition to the west end of our campus. There's also a renovation to classrooms, 5 classrooms.
Teutopolis High School Superintendent Bill Fritcher says renovations to these classrooms will include new drop ceilings and upgraded lighting. Phase 1 of the 2-part project will start this spring and end in the summer. Fritcher says the school has needed work done for a while now.
The school board's been talking about this for many, many years, what to do with the old section of the building. We knew the time was going to come that we would either have to renovate or we would have to tear down and build new.
Renovating and tearing down is exactly what Phase 2 of the project will consist of.
It will include the demolition of the 1929 and 49 sections of our high school building. It will include renovation of 2 classrooms in our shop area into a new band room, and it will also include construction of an enclosed walkway.
Connie Daters is one of the teachers at the school whose classroom is being torn down. Daters says she's excited for some new space.
There's a lot of things with this room that are going wrong. If you look around, tiles, and we can't control the temperature. We have rain that comes in the windows when it rains. And there's just a lot of things in this room that need to be fixed.
Daters says she thinks not only will teachers appreciate these updates, but students too.
Got the pride of, hey, this is ours, let's take care of it. part of their building, it's new for them, so they've got the pride of, hey, this is ours, let's take care of it.
In Teutopolis, I'm Bailey Taylor for WEIU News Watch.
Shortly upon our arrival, as the building caved in and collapsed, the entire building just went ahead and ignited off from the fire gases that were contained in it.
And Hopkins says it wasn't long after that scene, the entire building that housed a portion of Helmuth Custom Kitchens was completely gone. The business is owned by the Helmuth brothers, and Paul Helmuth says the family is deeply saddened by the loss.
It's a big loss for the community and everybody, really.
Assistant Fire Chief Dwayne Hopkins says firefighters from Arthur and surrounding communities were there trying to keep the flames from igniting other buildings.
We decided it was a loss, total loss. It wasn't worth risking lives to save anything in that building.
Hopkins says the cause of the fire is labeled as undetermined, but believes it won't be long before the place is back up and running again. Helmuth says the pain of losing a business is still fresh, and so right now it's hard to think about moving forward.
Still thinking our way through a day at a time right now.
Authorities say no one was in the building at the time of the fire and no injuries have been reported. In Arthur, I'm Bailey Taylor for WEIU News Watch.